I'm going to hold off a little bit until we get some other people in the room. My whole thing this year will be primarily about soil. It's going to be about soil. Um, I have clay soil, and it has its benefits, and also it has its reason why it's better for some things and not so good for others. The particles are really small, but I've been doing wonderful things with clay soil. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'm just one of them gardeners that can't wait to get started yet. And it hasn't even really officially became winter here yet. Expecting some snow very soon within this upcoming week. But I tell you, I'm waiting for it because once the weather changes up, March and April, we can get some of these plants in the ground. Yes, peppers are going to be my primary goal this year. Peppers, watermelon, not so much, but the soil I use this year. I have some other techniques that I'm going to be using. I'll show. I'm actually going to start shooting more of my videos outside. That way we can look at the garden and see what techniques I'm using that will also be able to help others. Starting most of my seeds, uh, like probably majority of my seeds are going to be started indoors. Majority will be done indoors. Man, I tell you, this turned out to be this was a beautiful, beautiful day to me. I woke up. I got my cat. My cat is a real cool son of a gun. He's so cool. It's just a shame he's that cool. But they're good company, especially when you got staying during the pandemic. They're great company. I don't think I'd want to. Well, dogs are good, but not for my lifestyle. And I think I'm gonna stick with this spinach here, folks. This noble spinach. Yeah, giant noble. I think I'm gonna stick with that because um, I grew it before and didn't have much. Well, no. I made an attempt to grow it before, and I just didn't have much luck with it because one thing about spinach, I was impatient. I wasn't trying to wait. So now I know it's important to kind of wait on it. Grows a really, really, really big leaf. A really big leaf. Look at that. You got a quarter in the middle of it, give you some kind of idea how big it gets. Oh yeah, and I love growing spinach, but primarily what I'm gonna do with this here, this is an heirloom packaged by Baker Creek Heirloom Seed Company. So, but I'm just looking at this because I want to make sure all of their seeds, I believe, are heirlooms. Yep, says here this is heirloom. Let's see. Ideal temperature is around 45 to 75 degrees. Depth 1/2 inch. Space, plant space. Frost hardy, yes. Full sun, mid full sun. I'm not worried about it. I know how to grow it. Let's see. Do you hold fig seeds? Do you hold fig seeds? I don't know what that means. Do you hold fig seeds? Uh, but I will be growing a lot of my food this year. I'm sick and tired of going places and getting food that makes me feel bad when I had the potential. and a knowledge base to grow what I want. And I'm going to grow one. Let's see, down is FDA approved. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Down is approved by the FDA approved. They're approved. Wow. That's heavy. That's heavy. And I rarely ever go to McDonald's. Rarely. And if I do go, it's for the fish sandwich. The burger, I understand you can do some medieval stuff with ground beef. The ground beef now that I buy from stores, if I go to eat it, I notice that it doesn't taste like it did years ago. So I know something's going on. It's got like a weird or different texture to it. I'm yawning because I slept most of the day. I'm glad I did that a day off, and it's nowhere to go anywhere. You can't go to the malls. You can't go to but I do know that very soon they're going to be having a seed catalog coming out um, in the stores, and the most. And remember now, when you first start seeing the seeds out, the most expensive seeds will come out first. When you go to the seed counters, they will be the most expensive ones out first. For some reason, they do that. Certain companies go out first, and you'll see packs like there'll be a pack of seeds for $3, $3.50, and then you'll see some others come out and they'll be like $2.99. And so this year, I'm looking for people not to be able to get any breaks on anything that you grow, especially the things that you grow to feed yourself. Grapevines are going to be higher. Raspberry, blackberry vines going to be higher in cost. Uh, and I'm talking about even the big box stores are going to be higher in cost. And remember, these plants, you don't but do cuttings and stick them in the soil to create new plants. Um, but they're going to be higher. And so this is going to get, once they start jacking the prices up, it'll give more people an opportunity to sell some of their own stock. No, they'll be able to sell their own stock. Because think about it, you buy one blackberry plant and you take cuttings from it. Think about it. You can go online and sell those pink plants where Walmart might be selling them for $8, $9 per plant. You could probably do them for $5, and you'll make your money because you're not putting out much in the way of supplies as far as your plant costs. Because I mean, they will produce their own stock, and that's the great thing about grapevines. Are easy to grow from cuttings, and so is blackberry. Raspberry plants, you can grow them from cuttings and do quite well. But people will be willing to buy from private owners this time around because think about it. You go online and buy a grapevine. When you're all said and done, and I know because I bought a grapevine from it was a place called Stock Brothers. Fine store, but Stock Brothers has vines that start at $12 plus the shipping. So you put those two together, you got a pretty hefty bill. Now, private owner could beat all of that cost. Private owner don't have the overhead that they have. All he or she has to do is just buy the plant, make a whole bunch of cuttings out of it. Say about one plant, make about first year they make about no, they won't be able to do 50 cuttings that year. Maybe the second year, third year, 50, 60 cuttings, and then take all those and put them in the ground, and then have all 50 or 60 come up, and you have from that you have hundreds of cuttings. So unless you have that kind of those kind of customers, you won't be able to get rid of all those vines. You won't be able to sell all those vines. But the thing about it is you can specialize in certain things. Like if you grow, say, figs, what they call brown turkey. It was a brown turkey figs, and you grow those and just keep growing them, and you will make your money back off that one initial investment. I have three different types of grapes. One, I'm not sure what it is. I believe all I know is that it's seedless. It's a white grape, and Thompson is what I believe it is. Because when I bought it from Walmart, no, wait a minute, I bought it from, I believe it was Lowe's years ago, and the plant didn't have a label on it. I bought it anyway. I knew it was a grapevine, but I didn't know what kind it was. When I started growing it, looking at it, and matching it up with photos and that sort of thing, I said, "This is a Thompson." Um, so the other two plants, I know exactly what they are. Um, the red grape is seedless. I have a red seedless. I have also another one, which is another huge white grape. Sold at It was sold at Stock Brothers, and I think it's called a Neptune. A Neptune. It's a huge white grape, and I bought that from them years ago. And the plant took a long time to kind of get started because you know how I am, folks. I got to tell you the truth. I do always baby my plants. I just don't. I put them in the ground. I feed them, get them started, um, and see how they hold on. If they hold it on, then I go, okay, they got it. And I'll go up there and I will fertilize them probably once, twice a year, maybe twice, and let it go for itself. Now, I got grapes started on the Neptune last year. They started putting out grapes. I don't know why I didn't eat none of them, but I put a covering over them to keep the birds off of them. And so that being said, I just did not eat any of the grapes to taste how sweet they were or anything, um, because it was the first time it produced, and it was two two clusters of grapes. And that's how that works. Two clusters of grapes. I think I hear the trash truck coming, or and I gotta go get my trash can because they always throw it halfway down the street or throw it, turn it over. I don't know if any of you had any problems with they leave your trash cans any kind of way. But let me go see what I got. If you want to hold tight, I appreciate it. If not, I always have food. Well, great for hunger. And I only have um, regular plans. And that's a hard thing. Don't be I'm gonna tell you something. You sound like you're on the right course now. What you did with um, you say you got some. I say only have young raspberry plants. I only have young raspberry plants, plural. Okay, I bought a few raspberry plants, and when I realized, well, what I did is I paid $1.70 when I bought my plant originally. I paid $1.70, I think it was 75 cents for my raspberry plant, and that raspberry plant pretty much took over the area where it is. Um, so it's going to send out all these shoots on the ground. It's going to come out, and they're going to come out where they're going to come out. The great thing about raspberries, they're going to come out where they come out, and they go. The first year, don't get lost when they produce a berry, and it's not going to taste all that great. The first year, maybe the second year, but after that plant gets rooted in and familiar with that soil, they're going to produce sweet berries. But the first year, it's going to be somewhat sweet. Now, as far as your Chicago hardy fig, that's a pretty good sized tree. So you'll have to control its size. If I don't know what zone you live in, I live in zone 7B. I would probably, it's a hardy tree at any rate, so it doesn't die back too much when you got temperatures around 20 degrees and that sort of thing. It doesn't die back too much, but you'll be fine with that one. But just keep it under control because it can get pretty big. That particular fig tree can get pretty big. Take over, it's wide, tall. It can get pretty good size to it. So they look a little innocent when you first buy them. They look like my little baby tree. Okay, you're in zone 6. Zone 6. Okay. You got some good plants there you're looking at. When you talk about that Chicago fig, you're talking real good right there. And that particular tree yourself, it paid for itself. I mean, whatever you paid for it, I don't know what you paid for it, but you can take cuttings from that and sell them all over the place because people buy that Chicago fig. Because I learned a lot of people love them figs, and they'll buy those figs. You just cut, stick them down in the soil in a container, root them up, and package them off, um, and make a good price, like about $5 each, or whatever you want to sell them for. You know what your time is worth. But people will gravitate towards you and be buying them things like crazy. You just grow the plants. Because when it comes to stores like the box stores, some years they have the fig trees, some years they don't have the fig trees. Wait a minute. I paid about $19. Yeah, that's marked up. That's marked up. Because all they did was take some cuttings and stuck them down in the soil and created that plant you bought. That's all they did. And so, which means that their input cost was almost zero. So you should be okay. I mean, if you decide to ever start selling things, and it's just the type of fig you got, which is that Chicago fig. The two most popular figs I've seen out there on the market was Chicago fig and the brown turkey. Very popular. But that Chicago can hold up in the areas where we have areas where it's a lot colder. So you did pretty good picking that variety. Um, Let me see what you got here. Grapevines. Let's see. The gold grape. Good. Okay. All right. Grapes are always great to have. It's a good sign of wealth when people come to your house and see grapes. Some of the wealthiest families in the world grow grapes. I like to see homes when I go to homes and they got in the back they got a whole big thing. Once the grapevines get loose and start growing and get massive and take over a whole fence or take over a very beautiful piece of framework in the house. I mean, in the backyard is incredible. It's incredible. Um, Grapes, the birds love them. Birds love grapes. So you'll have to know when to get your grapes before the birds do, because once the sugar rises in the grapes and the birds smell that sugar, they'll go for them and clean them out even before you get off work. I came home and seen all my grapes gone before I even got off work, and that is some serious work. Is it better to hold on? If you want a lot of excuse me excuse me excuse me if you want a lot of grapes, if you want a sturdy grapevine, it's best to put them in the ground. Find an area where you want to put them at that's got plenty of sunlight, that is where the soil does drain pretty well, that doesn't have that water doesn't collect in the soil, where the roots can get wet because they really don't like wet roots to stay wet. If you could put them in an area away from your neighbor's fence, so they don't. Because if you put them near your neighbor's fence and they go grab it all over your neighbor's fence, they'll be complaining about that because the grapevine's going to produce grapes and they're going to drop them and they're going to have wasps around them and that sort of thing. Hello, how you doing there, Mr. Price? Mr. Price, hello, how you doing? Greetings to all Earth planters, all Earth planters. Okay, all right. It just reminded me a little bit of food product permaculture. little bit there because he used that word earthlings a lot. Um, the thing about it is grapes will live. They'll produce well for up to 60 years, um, and you'll do really good with them. They don't require. They don't require. They're not real fussy. They're easy to start as cuttings. Very easy to start as cuttings. Um, Once you learn the correct way to take the cuttings and just stick them down in the soil in a pot and leave them there, and they'll do their own deal where you can grow cuttings from them if you need more additional grapevines. Because see, here's what the deal is, folks. You don't always have to go to the store and keep taking and buying from them. Uh, you buy one or two raspberry plants, um, and if you're patient, you put them in the ground. They'll give you and your family all the raspberries you want. They'll give you all you want. You don't have to keep buying. I saw a video once where a guy was working in a nursery, and a lady came in and she said, "Well, how many would I need? I have a family of four." And he said, "Well, you need about 25 plants." I looked at that and said, "Oh my God, he's selling her plants." Now, if you want the plants up front, I mean, if you want the berries up front, yeah, 25 plants will give you more berries than you know what to do with. However, if he would have did her even 10 plants, she would have been fine. But those plants send roots underground, and they send all these shootings up, these shoots, and those are brand new raspberry plants, brand spanking new. They always go to areas where they can eat and get sun and get warm. So you may plant one here, and it'll come up 10 or 12 feet over here. That's raspberries, or further. They will go over there and come up, and you'll say to myself, "Oh my God, where did these come from?" And they came right from the one plant you purchased and bought over there. Because I bought, like I said, I bought two plants. I bought one for $1.75, and that plant's got a corner of my yard with at least about 35 or 40 plants over in that area. I am not complaining. I'm just stating a fact. Trying to get Papa to germinate. No, yet. Slow process. Um, Now, have you done a lot of research on the pawpaw? Because they are interesting uh, fruit. And I believe it needs a second pawpaw to produce fruit. Don't hold me to that. But at last I recall, they need a second tree to reproduce. Um, but double check that. Also, they take a certain number of a certain amount of time before they produce. Uh, but the pawpaws are an interesting piece of fruit. Soft, it's supposed to have a very good flavor. The way it looks to me, it looks like to me it's an acquired taste. Read as much about them as I could find. Okay, okay. Now, did you see anything where it says it needs a second tree? Because I know I was getting ready to grow them years ago. And I said, wait a minute, hold up. Because they have to be, my trees are cut off at 7 feet. Um, Pawpaws are an interesting kind of fruit. Interesting kind of fruit. But I noticed that some of the line stores started growing them. Started selling them. At first, it was like you had to look for it. Now, it's quite a few of them selling the pawpaw. We don't have a lot of nothing about needing two of them, but I have a lot of seeds. Okay, okay. And you're growing them from seed, so that's an interesting thing, all in and of itself, growing them from seed. Because I found that tree, um, I believe Stock Brothers they were selling pawpaws uh, trees. They were selling, and so that being said, um, pawpaw, yep. I think you're doing good. I think you're doing good with your pawpaw. I think you're doing good. You're doing real good. Because when you get that food growing, and you don't have to ever worry about nobody buying pawpaws from the market because they don't last that long. They are not that type of fruit that will last for days and days sitting in a shelf. Um, there's a certain time that they're ready, and you got to go for them and eat them, and because they're very soft, they remind me a lot of like a plum. A plum does not last that long, and the reason why the grocery stores don't really sell pawpaws is because they're very soft fruit. Oh, okay, okay, they grow in clay soil. Okay, okay. I got to tell you, is that as far as clay soil is concerned, I have grown some of the sweetest corn in it, but you got to know what to do with clay soil. Clay soil is not a soil that will allow a lot of oxygen to roots. It will not do it. It has a tendency to uh, uh, to hold nutrients in it. That's a plus. Nutrients, minerals, it holds it. But you have to know how to plant in it in order for it to not starve your plant for oxygen. Because oxygen, believe it or not, is crucial to all plants that you grow. And so what people do is when they put things in the ground, depending on how dense your soil is, they have to be able to get some oxygen. And that's why some farmers will heal up certain crops so they can get more oxygen. Uh, okay. I don't. I think that tilling clay soil makes it worse, and I know because I've done it for over 20 years. I know, excuse me, I did it for about 5, 6 years straight, and it just made it worse and worse and worse and worse each year it went by because it destroys the the homes, the structure of the soil that is suited for the biology in the soil. And when you tear the soil up, you're tearing up their homes. And if I could get you just to imagine this, if you would, if you had a beehive in a tree in your yard, and you came over to it and smacked it with a stick, not only would you arouse the bees, but chances are the bees are not going to continue to stay in that particular hive after you destroyed it. The same thing goes for soil, is that these animals live in the soil. They travel in the soil, they reproduce in the soil, they eat in the soil, they do everything in the soil. And you come by with this huge, noisy, vibrating machine that rips and tears the surface of the soil up down to 8, 9 inches deep. And you expect the biology to be there, but they're not going to be there if you're tearing their homes up where they live. Um, the only big animals you see in the soil majority of the time that get destroyed is earthworms. When you see, you go through it with a tiller and you see worms cut in half and that sort of thing, that can't be positive. So what you want to do as little digging in clay soil as you possibly can. Keep lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of covering on the soil. It will improve the soil over time. I use what they call chop and drop. Chop and drop. I chop down my weeds, I chop down my grass, and let them lay on top. And that improves my soil. Once you stimulate the biology in the soil, when you leave food on the top surface, they will come up and eat the uh, the organic matter and go back down and move around, and they will do different things. and they will in turn improve the soil. Without them, your plants will not survive without these animals. After the yeah, I mean, you do a horrific thing to life in the soil when you rip through it with a tiller. I did it for years and didn't know any better, and then began to ask myself that. Well, one question is, how come my soil is getting worse? I've been doing this for like, well, about 5 or 6 years, 7 years, whatever. Um, and I said, how come my soil is getting worse? How come I'm growing less? How come my tomatoes are smaller? How come my cucumbers are smaller and I'm getting less crops? So I learned from that. Once I stopped tilling, everything kind of went back to normal, where it was lots of insects in the soil, earthworms numbers went up. I saw that I had beautiful soil that was black instead of being brown. It turned black, which meant that there was a lot of organic matter on the top surface. And I just kept on, chopping and dropping, and the soil improved. And that's how that works. Mm. Well, I guess that's it for me, folks. I talked myself out. I was talking about a number of I don't know about that. I don't no. Till if someone wanted to speed jump something going on with their soil and turn a whole bunch of organic matter in all at once and till it that one time, yeah, I could say okay. Um, but they wouldn't be able to plan on it that year coming up because it would lower the amount of nitrogen in the soil. But I would say if you want to jumpstart something, maybe. But no, tilling is for me. It's for me a no. It's a no. Majority of your big uh, uh, majority of your big farmers are now moving away from that. They don't want to till they soil anymore. All they're doing is doing the surface stuff where they just knocking down the crops that they finished harvesting from, and they letting it lay right on the ground and let it just feed the soil. And that's what they're doing. They're not tearing up the soil anymore. That's the cost of doing it, the amount of damage it does, and the setback of it setting back your progress. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Morning Gardener, and I want to thank you for stopping in. I had a whole 5 people in here, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much, and remember to keep on growing. This is the Morning Gardener Show. We'll do it again. Thank you.